So I'm just going to keep developing the form and trying to simplify everything to the bare minimum. Just trying to go for that overall impression. So it's almost like if you were to step back, say 10, 20 feet, and you saw it from a distance, it would read right away. That's what I'm trying to go for. And up close, it might still look a little more on the abstract side or very bare bones. But from a distance, if it can read really well and you get the form to read well, then later on, once you develop the petals, then it will feel right. Because if you try and develop all the petals and intricate shapes, if the form is off of the entire flower, it just won't read well.
Are you still using Gamsol at this point?
Just a little bit. I try not to use too much depending on the approach I'm going for. Sometimes I try and do almost an abstract wash covering the whole thing of the value and color of everything. But right now I just did that background wash and now I'm developing just pretty much plain paint just right over that surface. Because one issue is if you go too washy, then you almost lose control of your paint. And
then you start lifting it up and it just go nuts.
Yeah, it can lead to other issues. I'm going to start to get some of this really pretty purpley red in here. And for this, I'm using a quinacridone magenta and transparent oxide red to get something close to that. And the value of this petal down here is a little darker, so I'm going to mix that up because it's turned away from the light. So this whole petal's in the shadow right here, what you're seeing, or at least the top parts of it are. I'm just going to slowly build up the petals here and getting this reddish purple color established. And I don't want to go too vibrant or too sharp with a lot of these edges. They're going to be pretty soft. Since I'm trying to build up and almost sculpt things and not just go for it straight away. Takes a little time to develop all the intricacies of the form. So I'm just jumping back and forth between light and shadow to try and get the form to read. And another interesting thing, there's a lot of nice grays that you don't think would be there in roses, especially when the petal is turning, the form is turning, like right here. Hoping you can see that. There's a little bit more gray as the petal turns away from the light. And those grays are really important because you think you wouldn't want to use gray because it would be an almost dead color compared to the rest of the flower. But there are a lot of subtle grays, especially in roses.
So the biggest challenge for me when it comes to roses is I am so tempted to almost like count the petals.
Yeah.
The exact.
Yeah.
You are not doing that, right? You're just really sculpting the form.
Yeah.
Keep it abstract.
I'm almost trying to avoid going and painting an individual petal, at least in the center of the rose. because especially this type of rose has so many folding around in there that you can get caught up. You could get caught in a never-ending cycle of trying to get them all to fit in there.
Yeah.
And by the end, you just end up with a big mess. So if you go for that overall form, think that bowl shape, how it's catching the light over here, and on this side it's in the shadow. If you can get that, then towards the end, if you just put a couple hints of a petal, it'll read really well.
Yeah. Our eyes and our mind will just fill in the blanks.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing what the eye will just fill in. If you give it just enough information, it just reads really well. Okay, I'm going to get the flower to the left of this one developed now. There's a really nice warm purple down in here, warm purpley, brown, red, somewhere in that color family. So as long as I get just the value right and get close enough in color, then it should read pretty well. And then as the side of the rose comes up, it's going to be in shadow, and it's going to be a kind of warmish green neutral. And I'm mixing that just with a warm green and some browns, maybe a little bit of blue. I try not to add too many colors to the mixture because it can get a little muddy, but as long as you're kind of 2 to 3, you should be okay. So a lot of this is in shadow, so it's going to be a little bit on the warmer side. Nothing too drastic though. It's going to be a little bit cooler, but still warm at the base of the rose here. Let me get the light side established now. It's going to be a little cooler. Be a nice kind of cool yellow. And you can make this mixture a lot of different ways, but I'm kind of developing it off that pile of Viridian and transparent oxide red. That creates a nice neutral, and then you can kind of bend it towards yellow, maybe with some yellow ochre. And for the more vibrant, sometimes there's just like a couple little spots of more vibrant yellow in the flower, and you can almost use it almost like a cad lemon maybe to get something. I'll use a little bit of that just down here. Just pushes it just a touch. You don't want to overdo it, especially since these aren't yellow roses. And it's always fun because roses just have so much variety. I'll never get bored of painting roses because you can always do just a different species of rose because there's just so many types of roses out there. And I'm still thinking, what is the value? And is it warmer? Is it cooler? Is it more red, more yellow, more blue? Just simplifying it down to those basic elements can really help when you're just getting it blocked in. This petal comes up, it's in the light. Might have just a little bit of a green in there to kind of go closer to neutral, since I'm working with the pinkish purple. And then I'm going to get towards the core of the rose. Usually on the sides is where it's darkest. sometimes there's maybe just a little bit of darkness in the very center of the rose, but unless it's pointed directly at you, usually you get the darkest spots towards the sides and the base of the rose. And those are really important to get the form to read. Just gonna soften that edge. And then another nice dark spot is right in here. And I'm still using that Viridian and transparent oxide red combination to get a nice warmish dark. I'm just going to go back and I'm going to double check the value on my background. Looks like when I wiped it out, it got a little bit lighter. So I just want to make sure I'm dark enough on that. I'm using ultramarine blue and transparent oxide red to make a nice bluish neutral. So that's close. That's about the true value of the background. So I'm just going to keep that in mind. It's a little bit darker than the wash had hinted at. So I'm just gonna get that in there. And it's nice to have variety in brushwork. To have some areas that are maybe a little thinner and more transparent. Maybe where the texture of the whatever surface you're working on shows through a little bit, mixed with some nice thick palette knife work or thicker brush strokes towards the end. And when you get that really nice variety, I think it's fun for people to look at because you get all these fun little spots of texture and transparency that show through.